bread mixes, which we start with all the whole ingredients, and then later they're ground into flour. So we have buckwheat, groats, and flax seeds, and we have quinoa, which is pre-washed, so that if you don't have pre-washed quinoa, then you have to dry it completely before you use it. And chickpeas. And then we have psyllium seed husk powder, and you want to use the powder. And we put in a little bit of tapioca starch. And we have sea salt, which I like the real salt, and baking powder and baking soda. And that's the quick bread mix. And when you get to the recipe, that's when you will add the spices and they get ground into the mix and you make a flour.
Okay.
So right now we're just going to measure and we'll get you started here. So what we've done is to make this mix, you're going to need 6 cups of the pre-washed quinoa, 6 cups of the groats, the chickpeas, the flaxseed, the tapioca flour, and then 3/4 of a cup of psyllium seed, 1/4 of a cup of the salt, 1/4 of a cup baking powder, and 1/4 of a cup of baking soda. And it's easy to get distracted, phone rings, something happens. So when you get finished with the ingredient, put it away or put it somewhere else where you know that you're finished with it.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to put a 1/2 cup of the quinoa into each container. And I have these tahini containers, which I like to use, but you could use baggies, anything.
And is this okay, or should I get a knife and do the whole?
I just
Give it a shake.
I don't shake it because that will give you more. Just scoop and level with your other hand.
Okay.
And put in. Yeah. I call that the flour hand. And if you're a shaker, then you're going to get more than you need. Some people are natural shakers.
It's hard not to shake. I'm telling you.
Shakers and movers.
Goodbye quinoa. And with the buckwheat.
Yes. Now, that's a 1/4 cup.
Okay. And what was this little dude? Is this?
That 2 of those makes a 1/4, which I find that
They do.
helpful sometimes. Anyway, I find this to be relaxing, and to make up 12 mixes at once is just fabulous because basically it's a month to a month and a half's worth of breads, cakes, muffins, flatbreads, whatever I want to make. Savory, sweet. And I just grab a mix and my recipe and I go.
All right.
And a 1/4 cup of chickpeas. Now you may wonder at the strangeness of chickpeas in a baking mix. But chickpea flour especially, is very fluffy. And it makes a beautiful, beautiful quick bread flour. It took me a while to figure that out, but
God. Seems like this would have a nice high protein content too with all this stuff.
right with the chickpeas and the quinoa, you're getting all of your essential amino acids.
And what were you saying earlier about these being able to be grown in the area?
Not that particular variety, but we can grow chickpeas, buckwheat, and quinoa in our region. Love that. And flaxseed, and psyllium, for that matter.
Okay, chickpeas.
And now we're going to move on to the tapioca,
Okay.
which is a little messy, but not bad. So a quarter cup.
Ah, okay. Same thing, just scoop
Yep,
and
scoop in. So the tapioca wasn't in my original formula, and I have added it because when you make toast, the tapioca creates a crispness and a nice crunch. And I am a toast lover.
I'm noticing that the tapioca doesn't necessarily pop out of the measuring cup quite so well.
Right.
And just noticing to check that to make sure it actually.
There's a lot of binding power in this mix, the flax and the psyllium, and so you don't get the typical gluten-free problem of things not holding together. They hold together quite nicely.
We tapioca.
Oh, right. So now a quarter cup of the flax seed.
Okay. Does it matter, golden or other?
It doesn't matter. I like the golden because then if I make a carrot bread or something like that, it's going to stay more the color. But I've noticed that it doesn't really matter. I've had both. And nutrition-wise, they're the same.
And you were saying earlier that the flaxseed is the reason that we want to keep these in the fridge.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything else you could keep out. So we're going to need a tablespoon of psyllium seed husk powder. And this is a miracle ingredient. It's a great fiber source. By the way, these mixes are very high in fiber. So that's a huge plus. But psyllium will soak up water or liquid, and so it binds a bread together just beautifully. I also use it in my sourdough version.
In your sourdough version.
Yes, I make sourdough bread out of a lot of these ingredients every week, with the addition of amaranth and lentils and sunflower seeds.
Oh.
We don't have. We just ate up the last batch, but I've been making it every week. It also makes great toast and sandwiches.
I bet.
And it's super, super easy to make. No kneading.
Nice.
And then a teaspoon each of baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And one of the things I love about this mix is that I can control what kind of salt I use, the quality of the ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
So I know exactly what's going into our tummies.
And the freshness too, like all these things are very fresh, which is really
the
nice.
freshly ground flour, I mean, you keep it in its whole state where its oils are intact and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a little note about the flax and the omega-3s. So you'll hear a lot in baking communities, especially on the internet, that you are not getting the benefits of the flax if you bake the flax, because it needs to be under 350 degrees. But here's the thing. It is the internal temperature of the bread that needs to be under 350, not the inside of the oven.
Okay.
And the bread never gets above 200, 205. So you are getting the full benefits of the flax.
Nice.
It was one of those duh in a moment. You know, it's like it never gets to 300. That would be a burnt piece of bread.
Yeah, that would be a very done piece of bread. I love the aesthetic of the top of these and how I can see how one could get confused, but also it gets nice to track being able to see you know, where you're at the whole time. It's very cool.
It doesn't take long either to put it together, and then you're set for a couple months, really.
Okay, putting this over here so we don't have to wonder.
Depending on the size of your family,
Yeah.
you know, you could go through many loaves of this bread if it was beloved.
Well, with all the different varieties that you have going with this as the base, you get a lot of different flavor profiles with the same base.
Right. I can make a meal. I can
really
make
cool.
the pizza bread or the ham and date bread or, you know, a sweet bread or a cheese bread. My corn, in quotes, bread.
What does that mean?
Well, this makes a beautiful cornbread, and I put corn kernels in it to make it corn.
Oh, lovely.
Jalapeno and corn with cheese. Yum. So if you don't have room in a refrigerator or room to store cans, you can use baggies and just leave out the flax until you're ready to make the mix, and then you could just store it dry.
I feel like, you know, if somebody had some questions for you about that stuff, they could use the Community Cooks Facebook group as a way to ask you about that stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And then I just put the lids on and we're done.